Stefano,
Hello.
let's hear your prep joke. I heard it. Come on, get it
What?
over with.
Oh, you heard my prep joke? All right.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Leg Kick Podcast, where the only N-word we don't say is Nigeria. I'm one of your hosts.
I heard him. You know the funny part? Stefano told that to a significant other, like, hey, here's the joke I'm going to tell on the podcast. And she was like,
She didn't like it. What can I say?
Yeah, because she has common sense.
You know what? She does have common sense. But do you know what else she has? A UFC champion coming from her background, which is more than you and Jeremy can say, Mike. So, anyways.
Well, not anymore after what happened.
Well, you know, she's still a UFC champion, just past UFC champion. Anyways, everybody, we are the Leg Kick Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Stefano Hosko, here to talk to you about the incredible weekend of fights that were. We have our my co-hosts, the head host, hosts. Side hosts, head hosts, co-hosts. Which of these terms does it for you? Roast hosts?
You could call me Concubine 1. And
Concubine 1, Michael Asiffo. Concubine 2, Jalof Jeremy. And Concubine 3, David Alubafuve. Nuba Dube. Trube. Ube.
I don't remember being anybody's concubine or agreeing to being anybody's concubine. So,
well, Jeremy, that's the thing about being a concubine. You don't really agree to it. Anyways, anything to say for yourselves, gentlemen?
Man, people is gonna look up concubine if they don't know it already, and then be shocked we said it. But okay,
because you're my concubine.
Oh God. Oh God.
Gentlemen. So, coming off this big, emphatic week of fights, we will talk about the sensuous fights, but, you know, first, we're going to get into some news. Then we're going to talk about the possible COVID implications of this event, then talk about the fights themselves. But before we do all that, don't forget to like, subscribe. You can find us where you find all podcasts. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify. You can find us on basically any podcast app. You know, I've said it before, but if you go down into your basement and look at the old porn cassettes that your parents filmed, you can probably find us on those as well. If you have a friend that's interested in combat sports, tell them about us. We'd love to turn them from a filthy casual into a hardcore. You guys ready to get into some news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I wanted to lead with this one because, you know, I know this is near and dear to a lot of your hearts, but Tyron Woodley cut from the UFC. I called this one.
Yeah, this was going to happen. This was going to happen. Hey, man, you can't look 4 straight. Yeah, you gotta go, unfortunately. And he had a spirited showing against Vicente Luque, but you know,
and he's in he's in the ultra precarious position of being a highly paid former champion who's not delivering anymore, and unfortunately and by not delivering, I mean, you know, not turning up and winning performances against the best in the world. You know, that's nothing to turn your nose up at, but also had kind of a historically antagonistic relationship with the UFC in the past.
Yeah, it's so weird too, is that like the bar for which he got cut is you lost to 4 guys who are the top 10 in probably one of the premier divisions of the UFC. You know, like it's lightweight. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also think
Optimus Prime,
dangerous.
Autobots, roll out.
Yeah, David,
you're lagging more than the 4th season of Attack on Titan.
Really? Oh, snap.
Hey, that's a good reference. I gotta give you that one.
How's the lag right now?
It's good now.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say that Tyron Woodley, yeah, the reason, like, it's not just who he lost to, but it's how he lost as well. I think, like, in his last three fights, he didn't look particularly good, and some people might even make the argument, like, he looked like his best days were past him. I also think, like, he's 39, so in terms of, like, the trajectory, unless I don't even know of a single fighter who's made a comeback like that at 39. Maybe Randy Couture, maybe like back in the day,
You
but
could say
um,
Jan Blachowicz, maybe around that age.
Yeah,
hey,
Jan's
Josh
38.
Josh Barnett had a bit of a career resurgence, but at the lower weights, it tends to be rare. And I think you raise a good point. This is somebody who doesn't seem to be evolving or adapting in a way that we'd like him to.
If anything, regressing too, right?
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And it's not like he doesn't have like the knowledge like up here, like he's still like pretty lucid. He's still like got his wits about him. It just seems to be a thing like his performances, like his body isn't doing what his mind wants at this moment, I think. So
Now,
I don't know.
this might. Sorry, finish off, David.
No, I was gonna say it makes sense to me. It's sad. Looking back on his legacy, I think those three losses kind of tarnish it, but he's still gonna go down as one of the best welterweights to ever fight in the UFC, and he's nothing to be ashamed of, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And this kind of brings us into our next piece of news because this might actually be in the long term kind of a good thing for him. Corey Anderson came out this week saying that in two fights in the past 6 months with Bellator, he's made double of what I did in 15 fights, 11 wins, 2 bonuses, 7 years with the UFC. Now, is he being truthful? I'm not sure, but if he is being truthful, that means that he's made about $1 million with Bellator in these two fights.
That
I
is
can see that. I can
I'm
see
not.
that.
Yeah, I'm not willing. I'm not willing to necessarily disagree with this off the bat, and here's why. Bellator has a better revenue sharing agreement than the UFC. They give a larger portion of their money to their athletes. There's just less money to go around. But Bellator is hungry for talent, and anyone who's even tangentially a name from the UFC is somebody who they're looking to snap up.
But what I would say, a couple of things. First of all, this isn't a surprise because we've heard other Bellator fighters say this. We've heard Josh Thompson say this. We've even heard like Pitbull say this. So this isn't a surprise. We know if you're one of the top Bellator fighters, even in like ONE FC, we've heard some ONE FC guys say, I make more money here than I would in the UFC. I just think it's a different structure in the different organizations, and I agree with you in terms of there's probably less money to go around, but it's shared a little bit more equally.
And now, as far as ONE
However,
FC goes, though, I trust them. I trust them about as much as I trust my dog not to eat a Wagyu steak if I leave it on the ground.
I mean, and that's another thing we have to talk about because we didn't talk about last week in terms of the Jake Paul, what's it called, Jake Paul, Ben Askren fight, because there's no way all of those people on that stage got paid because just doing the math, like they must have lost so much money, it was ridiculous. But anyway, my point is, my point was going to be that to play devil's advocate, the reason Corey Anderson is making so much money now in Bellator is because he's had 15 fights in the UFC. If he had those same 15 fights in Bellator, I don't know if he would be talking about making the same money. It would be interesting to hear somebody like MVP or even like a Raymond Daniels or somebody who's like a real Bellator stalwart and hasn't jumped ship to see like, if they're making as much as some of the UFC fighters. But
I think those would probably be two bad examples because Raymond Daniels did make a name for himself outside of Bellator first and Glory, and I would say that
MVP is their cash cow.
Yeah. Jinx, personal jinx. But yeah, again, I would be interested to see what other stars in Bellator are making. Now, do I believe Scott Coker scumbaggery? Absolutely not. We've seen a history of this scumbaggery, in fact. But that's just kind of MMA promoters. But I guess we just need more mechanisms to hold them accountable.
Promoters, period.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
Jeremy, you can vouch for boxing promoters as well. Like this is part of the game.
Combat sports. Let's move on because we have a stacked card to talk about, and we have a few more pieces of news that I know you guys are going to want to get into. We talked about Brad Riddell, Drew Dober last week, I believe, right? Yeah, we did. Okay, heavyweight clash, heavyweight alert. Thick boy, fat fight, banging with the big boys on the UFC tonight. We've got a.
Did you make that? Wow, look at that.
We got a thick boy fat fight. Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Augusto Sakai.
I like this one. I like this one a lot.
No, it's disrespectful to Jairzinho. Sorry, I said that.
It's a good bounce back fight for him, right? Because Augusto is in the top 10 a little bit. You know, not the. He's ranked, right? And he's not the best, but he's a good bounce back to see if Jairzinho is, feeling the effects of his last loss,
I think you'll get a good fight of Jairzinho as well, because Jairzinho has shown that he is allergic to leading. He's a fun counter fighter, great inside low kick. If you make him lead, like we saw that Cyril Gane did, just kind of pitter-patter at him and pick him apart from the outside, and he will just refuse to lead. And Augusto Sakai, relies on his chin, relies on combination punching and overwhelming you against the fence. I see this as being fun.
Yeah. I think Augusto Sakai gets knocked out, though, but...
Yeah, I think Augusto Sakai gets knocked out. Yeah.
Davey Grant versus Chito Vera 2 booked. Nice. That's a fun one.
Oh, by the way, with Davey Grant, a guy who in spurts looks good, Yeah,
100%. Yeah. Robert Whittaker not fighting Israel Adesanya as we projected. Now, before we assume any kind of malice, I'm told that he was their first choice, but he wasn't able to physically recover in time after the Gastelum fight. And frankly, I think that's a smart move.
But who can recover? There is malice. Who can recover for 2 months? Who can recover in 2 months?
I mean, to be fair, Vettori fought the week before.
Okay, that's true. Actually, now that I think about it,
but
Vettori was not the same kind of.
Vettori got stung a few times, Yeah. Like he wasn't free of injury in the Gastelum, or free of getting. But honestly, I think as far as Whittaker goes, it's a smart move. Like for Vettori, it's your first shot at the title. Honestly, if you choose to wait it out, you're probably not going to get this shot in the future, especially with how competitive the division is. Whittaker, I think people are clamoring for him to get a title shot, and I think if he loses to Adesanya a second time, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a good move setting him out, and to be honest, as far as a strategic point of view, the more fights that Adesanya is involved in, the better chance you have of beating him. Yeah, the more tape, the more damage he incurs, Not to sound callous against Israel, but just from a cold strategic point of view, you benefit from your enemy having to fight these tough battles, and Vettori clearly not an easy out, just based on his physicality and his ability to wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that, if they really were going to make an effort to give Whittaker a fight, they could have given him some, August. What's wrong with August? You know what I'm saying? What's wrong?
Yeah, I guess the UFC really needed a main event. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a schedule thing, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that about does it for our news segment. Now, we had a sensuous fight card over the weekend. Now, before we...
No boxing news?
Yeah.
Can we save boxing for after?
Stefano.
Yeah, let's get into the card.
Your true colors are coming out. Let's go.
So,
I see your true colors shining through.
Should I get out the lighter? Lighter?
Yeah, really.
I see your true colors.
What is this, Mike? What is this, Live Aid? if that's the case,
children.
If that's the case, prepare to have our fun stolen by an Ethiopian dictator.
Jeez.
We are
that's what happened.
Children. Yeah, that's that.
Actually, I mean, let's just have some continuity and just get into the boxing news really quickly, because it was really a regular ass weekend. You had Emmanuel Navarrete dropping Christopher Diaz and beating him as I predicted, and then you had Berlanga, his streak ending of 15 straight first round knockouts that ended last week. I also predicted that Desmond Nicholson that Demond Nicholson would get out of the first round. So it was kind of a dry week. And next week you got Andy Ruiz returning against Chris Arreola in pay-per-view. So, I mean, not a whole lot going on. I mean, and boxing is really like a soap opera. You should have seen the storylines that were coming and going, truing and falsing. So it's like a soap opera at this point. But it's giving me. I got to take an Advil every day, so it's giving me high blood pressure.
Well, a couple things he missed there. A, Berlanga dropped Desmond Nicholson 4 times in the fight.
Right.
And God bless this Nicholson guy's soul. He kept going and went the distance with a kid who's scary. 2, we had quite the tete-a-tete about Ryan Garcia pulling out against Harvey Fortuna.
All right, so we'll get into that. We'll get into that at the end then.
Yeah, we'll get into it at the end. So yeah, but just like Anyway, perfect. Stefano, please take it away.
So, gentlemen, before we talk about the fights themselves, which we are going to wax lyrical about because they were delicious. But before that, I just want to talk about the repercussions that this is going to have for our sport in the long term and for the long-term health of the people in the great state of Florida. Not so great state of Florida.
I've been there. It's quite nice.
Yeah, chill out.
So, yeah, I know. I spent large parts of my childhood there. Not the smartest people, if I'm honest. Come on.
Yeah, their hearts are in the right place.
But so I'm sitting down and we're watching the prelims, and I'm looking at the people in attendance, and I'm like, oh, I think I heard them mention something about 15,000 in attendance, and I'm looking at the crowd, and I'm like, yeah, looking pretty sparse. Okay, should be disastrous, but not too disastrous. And then,
turned it to 25 real quick.
I'm like, wait a minute. Did I miss? It's 50,000. And then as the main card starts, it's just packed, like a bunch of, Floridians coughing into each other's mouths and, sharing each other's beer and seminal fluid and, a bunch of red-faced, neck-fat swamp people,
Hilarious.
Okay, spitting on each other when they're...
To play devil's advocate, we don't know the screening conditions to get inside, although I truly doubt it was as extensive or any more extensive than hey, got COVID? No? All right, come on. But we don't...
Screening conditions aside...
There did seem to be a lot of people wearing masks as well. Now, I'm not saying that, that means we should have 15,000 people inside a closed facility, but it did seem like there was some kind of, and you didn't get a lot of fans interacting with like fighters as well. So it seemed like there was that separation between like fans and fighters. So,
David,
I think
he's trying. Give him.
Let's be real.
Dana would say that this was a good test run for how to run. Basically like a full attendance event.
This was a full attendance event.
Yeah, no, this was a good test run of how to run a full attendance event during COVID.
David, your contrarianism never ceases to amaze me. We are up. We crossed the 8,000 cases a day threshold here in Ontario. We're not allowed to have gatherings. We're not allowed to have gatherings of more than 5 people. And you're going to say that it's safe to cram 50,000 people in a hot, sweaty Floridian stadium?
What I would say, though, is I watched
this
the
place
League Cup final today with Man City versus Tottenham. And also in the UK, which apparently has a similar vaccination rate as the US, they're also having like fans in the stadium as well. So I think, once again, the UFC are the first to do it, but it's coming.
That's the thing. We're not going to see the follow. The incubation period for this virus is quite long. We know that. You don't start showing symptoms until 10, 14 days later. So we're not going to see the fallout until, a couple weeks from now. The fallout's going to start to begin for these events. I just want to say that facility in Florida had more bacteria and viruses than Jeremy's toilet.
Oh, God. Why you got to do that?
Okay. Yo, what do you know about Jeremy's toilet, man?
Seriously.
I clean it for a living. What do you want?
With his tongue.
Jeremy's a very demanding boss.
Jeez,
Anyways.
but you know what I would say also, the fighters like the fans being there as well. I know, it's bad, COVID, blah blah blah. I know. Just hear me out. Like the fighters looked like they were having a good time. The fans looked like they were having a good time. Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier and maybe not John Anik as much, but
that's the thing though. Like
Daniel Cormier looked like they were having a blast.
I'm sure you guys can agree. Like I enjoyed having fans there, and I felt myself. It's a guilty pleasure. Just like the crowd is fun. They're alive. It's great atmosphere, but at the risk of how many deaths?
But see, me and Jeremy talked about this too. Like when we did the preview show, and look, here's a caveat. The vaccination rate in USA and Canada has been night and day. Absolutely night and day.
Not even comparable. They might be close to like 50% in terms of vaccination or above 50%. And I heard somewhere in the UK it's like 70%, while we are at like 10%, not even.
So there's a crazy stat that Joe at this pace, that President Biden, Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris and whatever, all the senators are doing, that they can reach 70% immunization by May 14th or something, which is insane.
Something like that.
Yeah, insane. So
Canada could only dream.
Yeah. So the idea that, okay, if you can get people, because I've heard that you want to just get people to 70. If you can get somewhere around 70%, you've achieved herd immunity, right? Something like that. Hear me out. Okay. That's all to say that because of how well the vaccination process is going, even in places that are Republican like Florida, and of how quick they're getting at this, could it be said that you could not, maybe not full, but could you have crowds going on in June?
In June might be a more reasonable target, but I just looked up the numbers, okay? So for these vaccines, you need 2 doses administered per person, okay? Florida, population of 22 million people, they've currently administered 14 million vaccines. So that would be enough vaccines. Let's say if everyone took 2, that would be 7 million people.
Most people would have taken 1, though. Okay, yeah. Sorry, 1.
Yeah. So assuming that, we are well below the threshold for what I think we should be to host live events, given that, especially because we don't necessarily know how effective these vaccines are going to be. Not in the sense that vaccines aren't effective, but in the sense that this is a rapidly mutating virus. And
that's the problem.
We're not immunologists here. We're not virologists. We're not qualified to speak on the science, but something doesn't smell right. It's not.
It does seem early, but at the same time, a lot of other countries are confident about their vaccination schemes and rates. So, and also there is a point to be about. No, I can't even say this because I don't know if I believe in it. But there is a point about allowing, the economy to restart, about allowing. I know.
David,
I saw the eye rolls.
What is with you making these bad? Are you trying to troll us today? Why are you making these bad faith?
I'm just saying from the UFC's perspective, if you're an events business.
Did Mike take you out back before the podcast and be like, David, come here, okay? You're going to be the conservative opposition on this podcast, okay?
Yeah, Mike's done being the conservative. I'm the conservative now.
Here's a list of talking points. And at the end of this little, you're going to say, fuck socialism, capitalism rules.
Yeah, men, women, they should never be in the same division, ever.
You think men and women should be in the same division?
I just make the weight, also.
Do you actually think men and women should be in the same division?
That's a topic for a different podcast.
You actually think that?
Eventually, one day, yes.
That is a
conversation for another day.
We're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
I think I threw up in my mouth a little bit, David.
But back on the COVID kind of issues here. The problem is, though, with the virus is rapidly mutating, which, by the way, I hate to kind of, pat myself on the back, but I kind of predicted it was going to mutate like 5 months ago.
Well, thank you, Mike, for that.
No, I know. I hate
Dr. Mike Asiffo.
From now on, government institutions are going to take their
Yeah.
take their cue from Mike.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
absolutely.
just
No
saying.
longer listening to the public health doctor or public health
What was
officer.
it
We're
like?
listening to Mike Losifo.
August. I was like, yeah, it's gonna mutate, and
A
then
bunch of serious doctors gather around a round table. They're like, okay, Mike, we're at a loss for ideas. What do we do? It's simple. Just make the weight.
Yeah,
Hey, hey,
exactly.
hey, a brother don't sound like that. One and
Yes,
two.
you do.
Okay, fair
Yes,
enough.
you do.
Damn. I sound like a fucking loser. Oh my god.
Well, I didn't say that. You did.
I
don't-
know. Two. Here's the thing. Here's the other thing. And this is the whole point. Is let's say even 10% of that crowd gets COVID and 1% gets hospitalized. God forbid, knock on wood, and I hope people come out of there safe. That is a huge stress on the hospitals. Like that's, you know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah. And you know what,
That's
Mike? It's
it
not
doesn't
just
take
those
much.
people. It's those people those people spread it to.
Exactly. And then it turns into a problem. And then all of a sudden, all the hard work that country has done, right, over 2 presidencies to get done, kind of goes out the window in a state. So, you know, again, knock on wood, God willing, don't want anyone. I hope, you know, I honestly hope that this crowd thing is a success. No one gets COVID, and we all can go back and live our lives hunky dory. Like I really do. But God forbid, God forbid, if it happens, it doesn't take many people for this to turn into another situation.
You know what, Mike? That's a nice scenario. And then, we'll all just wait patiently for the Easter Bunny to deliver fresh chocolate eggs under all of our pillows. And what other fantasies do we? Anyways, any other last takes on this?
I mean, just really quickly, some of the contrarian view. Man, they did it in a state where it's legal, where the governor and the mayor encouraged them to do it. They were at like the pre-fight press conference. Like
Yeah,
this
that
is
was weird.
Yeah, man. Like also notice how we say we don't want politics in sport, but when it's politicians who agree with what the sport is doing, then we haven't got no problem with that at all. Yeah, I just think like once again, it was legal in the state. The governor and the mayor wanted it, so like let's do it and let's see what happens. It sucks that people's health has to be put at risk, but to be fair, if you're going to a UFC event with 25,000 other people, then
50,000 people.
50,000 people, then maybe you deserve to be an
It
experiment.
was,
Hold
I
on.
don't know.
It was 50?
It was 50,000 people. Yeah.
Oh my.
Anyways,
I thought it was 50. That's pretty
Breitbart, One American News Network, C-SPAN. If you're looking for an MMA correspondent, we got
Sign
one.
us up.
Following David, taking cues from Kamaru Usman and other prominent conservative
And the
Nigerians.
Q stands for QAnon.
I don't want any of that Q nonsense on this podcast.
All right.
So, wow, what a card of fights that we had. We might as well tackle it and go top to bottom. Take a
Stefano,
look.
I gotta ask, did you spend a lot of time in Vegas? Like, why do you always turn every song into a Vegas showroom?
Yeah, this is like a show tunes. Like, what's going on?
You don't like show tunes?
No, but it's okay. That's
No
another.
more than the regular person, but sure.
Well, anyways, in our main event, we had the UFC's closest thing to a Ghanaian champion, Kamaru Usman, getting it done in, frankly, a way that none of us expected. All right, then. Mike, who wants to take lead on this? Jeremy?
Speak for yourself, sir.
I have a couple. Sorry, go ahead.
But I was gonna say I had faith that Kamaru could get this done, but please
I think
No,
we all
me
had
too.
faith that he could get it done. I expected him to smother Masvidal over the course of 5 rounds. I did not expect an emphatic knockout, a beautiful setup of that right hand.
Spice coming out of poor Masvidal's head. Just,
yeah,
that was beautiful, man. I don't know. Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts on this. First of all, man, first of all, Joe Rogan's hyping. I love Joe Rogan, but the hyping of this fight was all wrong. Joe, you can't say oh, Masvidal in that first round looks great against Usman, and we don't know. Maybe if he had a full camp, he'd be able to. Like, no, buddy. You have 4 more rounds after that first round to see what the difference between Usman and Masvidal was. So that was a terrible hype job from Joe Rogan to begin with.
In fairness, that's not just him. That was the UFC promotion machine.
Yeah, I bought into it ever so slightly, because I'm like, man, Masvidal is quite dangerous. He's a very intelligent fighter, and he has some of the weapons to potentially stall Usman. And maybe if Usman is, chooses to fight a certain kind of fight, like the one he fought in this one, and doesn't go to his takedowns as frequently as he should, maybe he's got somewhat of a shot. I didn't want to discount him. And that turned out to be untrue.
Yeah, no. I mean, sorry, go on, Michael.
I was going to say, I do have a couple technical breakdowns of this because I think some of the things Whitman Usman did were quite nice. But I want you to have all your thoughts and go ahead because I think there's.
Oh, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get them all. Another thing I was going to say is, and you kind of alluded to it, Kamaru is for sure getting better. Like, for sure. If you watch, like, even his Tyron Woodley fight to this fight, like, man, it's like night and day. Even, like, I wouldn't say the Colby Covington fight because at least he got to showcase some of his striking there.
Oh, I would say his striking has improved.
It's getting better, like,
from the Colby Covington fight. Yeah. I think the Colby Covington fight, he looked kind of one note and, waiting to sit down on certain counters. He threw a good left hook to the body, but I thought he showed power and he showed promise in that fight. But he's just taking control of the striking in his recent performances in ways that we didn't think possible.
Yeah, man, the Burns fight, like, that was as good of a stand-up fight, like, as I could see, like a lifetime wrestler given, and this is what the interesting part about it, because he's not just, dipping low and throwing the overhand like a lot of wrestlers do. He's putting some technique behind his kickboxing as well.
Yeah.
Like,
the mechanics are still a little.
His head's
still a little off, but yeah.
There occasionally he's caught leaning, but he's getting his head off the center line. His jab is an active part of his game. In this, he was picking angles very well in this fight. He kept hunting for that jab left hook cross and stepping deep. And at this point, he timed Masvidal as Masvidal was coming in and committing, and it just produced that knockout where Masvidal essentially ran himself onto that right hand. And it looked scary. And the hardest shots are generally the ones that you walk into, that you don't see coming, and the ones that you walk into because it magnifies the impact of it. And this was just scary. And Masvidal looked good early. He was kicking early and often, which is what a lot of us said he had to do, target the legs of Kamaru Usman because,
Usman has a litany of injuries there.
He has a litany of leg injuries, and also he's someone who generally doesn't tend to go for your typical low double leg shot as a result of those injuries. So catching a leg wasn't necessarily going to be as big of a threat, so he could kick with more impunity. But Usman, good job of limiting the exchanges and not really giving.
I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. I think one of the things that's underrated, and they probably said this last night as well, Kamaru's fight IQ. Because it's one thing to be, to know that you're at a striking disadvantage, but it's another thing to limit the exchanges with Masvidal so you don't get exposed by the superior counter striker.
He wasn't giving him a lot to counter off of. Not giving him a lot to counter off of. And when he did overcommit, he dipped his head low and got off the center line immediately. Yeah. There were flaws in this performance, to be clear. Like
first round.
In the first round, he overextended a few times. But man, how about that takedown where he got those double underhooks? And it looked like, partially as a factor of Masvidal keeping that very high stance, but he just bowled Masvidal. It looked like Masvidal got hit by a freight train.
Yeah, man. And that's another thing that surprised me. Not really surprised because, once again, Kamaru's a wrestler, Masvidal is not a wrestler, but every time they got close, like, it wasn't even like you knew there was a difference in the grappling ability, like every single time.
Now, to Masvidal's credit, though, he was very good off his back.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, that's surprising me, and I think he actually won that exchange a little bit to make Kamaru at least think a little bit more before he went for the next takedown. Because as soon as he got Masvidal on the ground, Masvidal off his back with the elbows was super vicious. no like waiting around and trying to play like jujitsu. Like he was out there to hurt Usman, but
Well,
Usman for the most.
yeah. Ironically, that is how old school jiu-jitsu was. Like when you watch a lot of the old school guys, like Joe Daddy Stevenson was a master at just elbowing people from his guard. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I ran into, I've probably told this story on the podcast before, but one of my training partners from back in the day, Seiji, he now runs his own MMA team out of, what's it called? It's on the East End. That school. Connor Rideout's from there. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
But anyways, he was one of the few people who was able to do that, take that old school style of jiu-jitsu. And years ago, he outboxed me from guard. And it was one of those rounds where I got beat up so badly while I was on top of him that I got off of him and I'm like, fuck, I feel stupider. He hit me in the head so many times from guard. So that can be a legitimate option. Boss Rudin won his title from the guard, beating up Kevin Randleman, right?
Yeah. And you know what? I got to say this, and I got to call out another YouTube channel that does good work, in fairness, but MMA On Point will tell you from Kingdom Come that Boss Ruin lost that fight. And it's like, no, he didn't.
Time on top does not necessarily equate to victory.
Yeah.
But sorry, one thing that I thought disappointed me in this performance from Masvidal that I think he kind of suffered from in his last one is after he got taken down. And I think after that, a large portions of the first round, he stopped kicking as much. And Masvidal's, his game, his striking game works well. His boxing works well in combination with his kicks. His front kicks, his body kick is one of the best in the game. He's such a hard body kicker.
Yeah, step up body kick.
And his jabbing's good, but it seems like he was really trying to sit down on his shots and really, really overcommitting in order to knock out Usman, as opposed to just trying to accumulate damage. And that's when the finish came as well. He overextended and walked himself right onto that cross. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, I wanted to talk about that. So here's the breakdown, and this is why I think Whitman Usman could be one of the scariest forces the UFC's ever seen. So what Kamaru Usman was doing was he was trying to set up the jab, obviously. His jab is really, really nice, right? He's got that really long jab. And because he's got a 76, 77-inch reach, it can work for him. Now, what Masvidal was doing was initially he'd parry that jab and come with the left hook, right? And it worked a couple times. But the problem is, A, he's going back in a straight line, and B, he's dropping that hook. So what did Usman do? Rather than having his jab get parried, he throws a long hook to grab Masvidal's arm, keep Masvidal in the bad box as Masvidal's trying to go straight back, and clocks him with that right cross so hard that Usman actually falls over.
Yeah.
It
that
looked
knockout,
like
man. That knockout was a thing of beauty.
That knockout was like a punch that you'd see in an anime like Hajime no Ippo when
Literally,
you punch
all
like the way through
punch.
them. There's that iconic photo of Usman at the full extension of his punch, and Masvidal's face is turned and it's over by his shoulder, like he's punched all the way through. Yeah, that was.
And he literally he swings with so much force that Masvidal's out, and then Usman bumps him to the ground. That was pretty crazy. I did want to say one thing though. Masvidal's striking is one of the more intriguing things to watch in MMA, in my opinion, because he has such he looks like he would be kind of that tippy tappy style that Stefano was talking about, where basically you're just getting points, but he throws with so much power, it's kind of deceiving. And I don't know, for me, he has one of the best kickboxing styles and has super fast hands, but in this fight, I think Usman once again limited the exchanges well, and
outsmarted him.
Honestly, that's what it was. He outsmarted him, and
fought a great
honestly,
game plan.
Usman got him a couple of times in that first round. A couple of those shots would have gotten a lot of guys out there, and Masvidal just kind of laughed it off. But instead of taking it as a technical, you got technically outsmarted, he was kind of oh, you got me, blah blah blah. But I think he was a little bit overconfident, and even he would admit he was a little bit overconfident about his the gap in stand up or the gap in striking skills. And that kind of was the downfall because he eventually got caught. I wouldn't say caught being sloppy, but he got like shocked. Like nobody really saw that.
I'd also like to say that the wrestling, and I don't think Kamaru Usman should forget this, and it seems like he hasn't because it still played a role in this fight. The wrestling is the reaper that just hangs in the background of every fight of his, where it just forces people to react differently to his striking. Like, what do you do against someone that's got such a long reach on you and is trying to jab you up? You kick with them, right? You kick with them. But Masvidal, because, a lot of people think, kicking equals, getting taken down. But then again, so does lunging in when you punch, right? I would have liked to have seen him kick while Usman was punching and then work his way in through there. But
and another thing about that is Usman will take you down and you'll get up. And Masvidal actually got up a couple of times, which, good job to him. But instantly he's right back on it. He's back on that jab, back on the jab to the body, the fake knee touch. Man, he has you thinking all the time, which is why I think Masvidal looked a little bit slower in the end of the first round and the beginning of the second round, because he was anticipating that takedown at any moment. And once again, when you had it once and Usman tries to hold you down there for the rest of the round, it makes sense why you'd be a little bit tentative to let go on some of your shots.
I will say, did you guys find it surprising that when Usman went for the knee tap, right, Masvidal didn't move? Not even a little bit. He kind of just
maybe because he knew it was a fake.
Fair enough. Maybe
he was just by that point spent and didn't react in time. But I don't know. I felt like it was pretty obvious he was faking at that point. But I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy?
I have some other points about Usman though. But first of all, greatest of all time in the welterweight division. I know no, because George St. Pierre, but
I was going to say shut your whore mouth.
But he's
David.
getting up there though. What is that? 15 wins in a row. How many 14, title defenses? Who we keep saying there's somebody. Oh, if only he fights this guy. If only this person could come back and. No, man.
He's second. He's second in all-time welterweight history, and I think that's a big thing to say of someone that's still active because the script isn't quite written on his career. Now, don't forget, it was not too long ago that we were saying Tyron Woodley is number 2 without question, and I don't think anyone comes close, right? And then something happened, and I don't think it's wrong to necessarily say before we say greatest of all time. Let's hold off till we see how this party ends, but I'm comfortable putting him at number 2. I think there's some interesting stylistic matchups for him, but we'll get into that in a second. Sorry, go on.
We keep saying that. I also just wanted to.
That's not a knock on him. That's not a knock.
No, it's not a knock. If anything, it's a compliment. The fact that we keep saying there's some interesting stylistic matchups, keep throwing different kinds of fighters at him, and he keeps running through them all. I think that's a testament to not only how much of a student of the game he is, because he's clearly game planning for every single fighter, but also just how top-notch his skills are. I know
and also credit to the division, too. That this division has historically always been a tough division to fight in. Mm-hmm. And for Usman to keep doing what he's doing is astounding.
It's crazy. Yeah. I wanted to say another thing before we get into, maybe who's next with Kamaru and maybe talk.
We already know the announcement was made.
Yeah, we already know. But is he the greatest Nigerian of all time? Man, I gotta say, I'm really proud to be Nigerian. Yeah. But man, when you got Adesanya and Usman, they couldn't be more different in terms of their skill sets. But I don't know. Are his accomplishments comparable with Adesanya? I don't know.
I think the greatest Nigerian of all time, and I don't say this lightly, is David Agbaire.
Yes.
If I'm honest, I don't think either of those fighters compare to.
I think you're forgetting about his half Italian cousin, David Agabruto.
David Agabruto.
Agabruto or Agabreзе.
But no, man, I gotta say, man, it's extremely amazing to have 2 great fighters, even like Sadiq Yusuf. A lot of these guys coming up in Nigeria, but man,
Hakeem Dawodu, isn't he half? Is he half Nigerian? Isn't Hakeem Dawodu half Nigerian too?
Half Nigerian, half Jamaican. We call that in Nigeria. We call that the devil's mix.
You're making fun of him?
Yeah,
No, please don't beat me up, Bean. Please don't beat me up, Hakeem. But no, I was gonna say, man, yeah, just great to have two Nigerian champions, and it's interesting to see the contrast in styles as well.
Um, I wanted to get into the Kobe matchup because I think at this point I'm kind of disappointed because I really thought the UFC was going to go with Wonder Boy, and I think Wonder Boy stylistically is much more interesting because I think Wonder Boy is a big.
Facing Burns though, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Wonder Boy's a big question mark.
I gotta say this. Usually, I would agree with you in terms of the stylistic matchup, but after yesterday, I'm not so sure because, man, if Usman catches Wonder Boy, like it's gonna be a problem.
Oh, I'm not saying Usman can't beat Wonder Boy, and as every fight goes on, I like his chances better and better. Although I still favor Wonder Boy. I think Covington, I absolutely favor Usman at this point. I think Covington's reliance on pace and wrestling is phenomenal, but I don't think he has as well-rounded a skill set as Usman in the sense that, a lot of Covington strikes on the feet set up the function of, overwhelming and almost serving as a smokescreen. He has very cool setups for takedowns, but if the fight transpires the way it did last time and Covington decides to stand with Usman, I think Usman
going to get touched up.
He's going to get hurt.
I think one thing we did see in the last fight, and Jeremy's not said a single word this entire thing, but one thing that I did notice last time.
Like good takes.
I don't think the difference between Colby and Kamaru
is I save a bacteria on my toilet. Sorry, go
on.
Oh
God.
I was gonna say this. Oh God. I don't think the difference between Colby and Kamaru in terms of stand-up is that wide. I think for a while people were like Colby's way better on the stand-up, and Kamaru might have the edge in the wrestling, but I don't think so. Just because at least the Kamaru we've watched over the past couple of fights, so it'll be interesting to see what adjustments Colby's gonna have to make to what might be a dude who's as good, if not better than him, when it comes to like boxing and kickboxing.
I'll say this. I'll say this. If Colby, look, I know the guys at MMA Masters have really taken care of him. I've heard that firsthand. But if Colby is not on his P's and Q's against Kamaru Usman, he's gonna get hurt. Kamaru Usman's gonna send him into next week. And that's not me trying to be like mean about it. Everyone with two eyes can see that Colby Covington's a great fighter, but this is a guy who knocked out Gilbert Burns and sent Jorge Masvidal to a shadow realm. Two really good strikers.
I think if Colby's going to win this, he's going to have to wrestle often, wrestle early, and not allow Kamaru to make reads on him. And wrestling Kamaru is no walk in the park either.
And I think Kamaru is a dangerous game plan.
Yeah, Kamaru has. I'm surprised I'm saying this. And if you told me that I was going to say this a couple of years ago, I'd be like, what sort of drug are you on? Kamaru has the ability to finish him. Covington, I think, lacks that. The ability to finish and hurt Kamaru.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we said years ago, like before his big title run or even after the Woodley fight, we're like, oh yeah, Kamaru Usman is a threat to finish whoever he fights. Night and day.
My quick takes on the fight were shout out to Masvidal for getting up off the canvas as quickly as possible after Usman took him down so viciously. That was an improvement that I saw in Masvidal's game. But I just think he underestimated Usman and hinted at homosexual promos by saying he likes to hug men and rub up against them and
rub his feet. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
What's wrong with that though? Like I like that too. Shit.
Yo, I gotta say, Masvidal had some bars.
Wait, guys, you talked for like 20 minutes. 1 second. I said that he shouldn't have underestimated. I like the trash talk too, but I said he shouldn't have underestimated his hands, and he maybe should have took his game a little bit more seriously. That's my 2 cents.
Man, I gotta say this. Masvidal had a bar in the UFC embedded that's gonna come back to haunt him forever. This man said, "Yo, God did." I can't even get through it. God didn't bless him with the manliness to hurt someone with his hands. It must suck to live like that. That is
Yeah,
a
no,
bar.
he literally said some stuff like he has the softest hands I've ever felt in my life. It must suck to have pillow hands or something like that. And also he said like, and I quote, I've I visualized this fight ending in extreme violence. Well, I mean, he got a half right.
That it did.
Uh,
That's like
and you know what? Like, shout out to Masvidal because he's a real fighter. I don't think anybody's gonna say like, he's putting on a stick or anything like that. But hopefully this calms down that like street Jesus thing just a little bit because it was getting to like
Out
like a
control
parody.
levels. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was like a caricature.
Yeah, quite annoying. And next up, moving on, we have the fight that.
Wait. One thing. Did you guys hear about McGregor saying he wants to fight Usman next?
Yeah, shut the fuck up, McGregor.
Yeah, next. Please.
Like, for God's sakes, just stay in your lane. Shut up. He's
got
you were calling out Diego Sanchez just a year and a half ago. I'm getting a little bit sick of McGregor.
Yeah,
I really am. I'm just getting a little bit sick of this man.
All right, what's the next fight, brother?
The fight where Dana White saw millions of yen being lit on fire in front of his face. He saw the Chinese market slipping from his hands. Wow. Rose, who among you thought this fight would end in this particular fashion? Because I know I didn't. I thought either Rose was going to use her movement and boxing to outpoint Wei Li and just bouncing in and out of range, and maybe she'd slow down in the later round. She'd hang along too long in exchanges, and I was like, I don't think Rose has the power to really hurt Wei Li Zhang. I don't think so. And just that beautiful step up left high kick, karate style, might I add, and just, oh my God, put her lights out, guys.
That was a thing of beauty, man. That was
Look low, kick high.
And the thing is, and they said this a million times on the broadcast yesterday, that you can clearly see Wei Li is expecting something different, but the technique is so pure, like she can't read it. Like that step in, like it's so seamless. And, we take this for granted as people, I don't know, as somebody who tries to do some kind of Muay Thai and stuff, doing that step in kick, number one, it's not a kick that you usually do, like you step inside and try and land like that. And number two, like it takes
not in Muay Thai.
Pardon?
Not in Muay Thai, but in karate, that's a whole different arsenal of techniques.
I'll take that.
Bouncing lead leg.
Usually, yeah, you're right. Usually that's more of a power move though. But she didn't throw with power. It was all finesse. And yeah, man, I just gotta give it up because I don't think we saw a lot in terms of like a huge skill gap, which is why when people are like, okay, Wei Li doesn't deserve a title shot or a rematch or blah, I'm just like, wait, because she got caught with like a weird technique that we don't see that often?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, the reason why I would say she wouldn't get it immediately, like I think Rose would face somebody else, is because I think Wei Li should take some time off. I think Wei Li should take 6 months, maybe
years, Mike.
Yeah, she just took a whole year off. I mean, you can't
listen. She got viciously knocked out, guys. I think if she goes back in there, she's gonna get hurt. Like I don't want her getting knocked out against Michelle Watterson. I'm sorry.
I'm with Mike on this one. I think fighters, when they get knocked out, should take a long time off, heal your brain, rest up. She's clearly making that money in China. You know what the UFC was waxing lyrical about in the promos about all the sponsorship she's getting and what a big star she is in China. How many followers
she has on Weibo.
Yeah. You know what? The Chinese support their own athletes clearly, and she'll be able to carry through another year.
They support them until they lose, right? And that's kind of my fear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I genuinely hope that she can take the time off and heal up. I just want to just quickly mention, because David brought up a few points about the kick. Rose loves to use that bouncing in and out of range, and that karate high kick is a lot more difficult to read than a Muay Thai kick, because the Muay Thai kick, the whole leg moves in unison. The karate kick, that knee comes up and then it chambers, boom, and just flicks to the face. And Rose is always bouncing in and out of range. That's what got her the Joanna knockout. That's what, why Joanna in both fights was just swinging at air constantly. And I thought early on in this fight,
Wei kind of solved it. Yeah,
I thought the signs looked good for Wei Li early on because I saw Wei Li Zhang throwing that inside low kick that was a big feature of the earlier part of her career, and just knocking that lead leg of Rose Namajunas as she stepped in. I'm like, this doesn't look good for Rose. This is going to pay dividends. This is going to force her to stand in the pocket with Wei Li, and then that leg just came up, and it's hard to read. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
I'm in mourning today, guys. I'm a Wei Li fan through and through. This hurt me to see how
Thug Rose,
how she got caught with that. No, shouts out to Thug Rose. I mean, that was a great kick to fake the low kick and then catch her up top like that. That was masterful. But I think to the point before about what Michael said is that she might lose some backing from the Chinese media machine or whatever. I think that's part of the reason why she was so upset immediately after the knockout is because a lot of their culture is built around like honor and not bringing dishonor to your family or whatever. So I think that's part of the reason why she was so upset, and I feel for her today.
Yeah, like look, here's
Also-
the deal. As much as a good stoppage that was, I think you would have had to kill her for her to not
for sure.
disagree.
Also, I was gonna say,
I'm going to be honest, though. I just want to address something really quickly because Jeremy is right that there is an honor culture, but I don't know how the Chinese focus on combat sports. I know in Japan they were less focused on win or lose and more focused on showing the warrior spirit. Now, China and Japan, very different cultures, but both cultures honor cultures, right? So I don't know how China feels about combat sports in that way.
I was watching Chael Sonnen's YouTube videos, and he was talking about how the Chinese government won't even send you to the Olympics unless they feel you have a chance of winning. I'm not sure if that's true.
That's true. I mean, I would take everything Chael Sonnen says with a grain of salt.
But
Man of the world, Chael Sonnen.
But there is some truth to the argument because there was a president who once said, and I'm paraphrasing, if you get second place at the Beijing Olympics, don't bother coming back to China.
That's pretty funny, though. I mean, that's flames. That's hilarious. But anyway, I'm not going to comment on the Chinese government because I think we've had a little bit too much with that recently. And I think maybe that was also part of, I would imagine, if I know anything about, women living in China, is that they love China. So when you insult a government or even like a political ideology and then proceed to knock me out, like I'm gonna feel a little salty about it, Like
and the fact that she lost her title, like let's not view her as just like a vehicle for the aspirations of the Chinese government, and like this is an individual who
has
lost. And also let's not forget that this wasn't like a systematic like 3-4 round beating. It was she got caught, like when you get caught like that, you're gonna feel like, whoa, that was either like a fluke or she was even asking what happened. She didn't know what happened.
Stoppage was good. What do you guys think about the stoppage?
No, stoppage was fine. No nonsense. Keith Pearson was on the money with that. Great stoppage.
Excellent. You don't have to wait. I don't care if it's a title fight or not. If somebody's turned away, not addressing the strikes, I don't care if they're unconscious. They're not intelligently defending themselves, and we're not gonna.
In the prelims where the referees did not cover themselves in glory. But I also wanted to say, Thug Rose, top 5 women's fighter in the UFC of all time.
All time?
David, I think easily. Who else would you put in that consideration? Ronda, Amanda, and Thug Rose. I think that's about it. Other than that, maybe Joanna's up there.
Joanna, Valentina, Holly,
Valentina, I guess.
Misha.
Number 3. Let's go number 3. I would say you'd go Amanda, Valentina, and then Rose, because Rose recaptured her title, but she hasn't.
Over Ronda?
She's got a 10-4 record, my G.
Over Ronda?
11-4. 11-4.
11-4?
It's 11-4. 11-4. Yeah.
But I mean, Ronda, as far as strength of competition goes, I don't think Ronda had the same strength of competition, and I think as soon as she ran into difficult competition, she struggled. Right? She struggled and was never really able to reclaim that. Rose, like those 4 losses. Some of them came kind of early in her career where she wasn't really the finished product that she is now, like the Carla Esparza loss. I think Rose sends Carla Esparza into orbit now. And
that's fair.
I think she beats Tisha Torres and Carolina as well, right? So what? That's 3 of the losses, and the other one is to Weili Zhang.
No, the other one was to Jessica Andrade, and then she beat Jessica Andrade right after. So you have an argument there.
Oh, sorry, Jessica Andrade. That's what I meant.
Yeah, so you have an argument.
What about Holly Holm? I know they're in different divisions, but I'm not. Yeah.
And then we're
Holly
forgetting.
Holm, if you want to argue combat sports athletes, female combat sports athletes, Holly Holm has a better case because of all the boxing and kickboxing titles she has.
So
but I think her run,
just focus only on the UFC. Like
then
I think
I
Holly
would put
Holm has a pretty good resume.
good resume, but I'd put her a level below.
What about Misha
Just because
Tate?
her reign on the top was short like leprechauns, as they crushed Cold Willies, thugs, and rapper dons.
Man, old school hip hop references. Okay, what about Misha Tate? Because Misha Tate, if I know we're focusing on the UFC a bit, but if we're going MMA body of work as a whole,
do I have to quote Biggie again?
Okay, fine, all right.
But make your case. Sorry, to make your case.
No, I'm just saying, Strikeforce, former Strikeforce world champ, right? Former UFC world champ.
But here's where I struggle. Like, she was never able to. Why was she not Strikeforce champion in the end? Like, who dethroned her? Ronda.
And that was never able to win the big one. She was never able to win the big one.
That's the thing. Good fighter, right? Has her accomplishments, but there's just those couple of fighters that were stumbling blocks that she could never really progress over, your Amandas and your Rondas, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say Weili Zhang, but anyway.
I think
another thing that...
sorry, real quick. I think below those 3, as your number 4, you got to put Cyborg.
Wait, hold on.
Why
I'm
is
not rolling that Cyborg is below Rose Round.
Rose, yeah. Why?
Because she's had a more flawless record. I would say. I think.
No, hold on.
Strength of competition as well is not in Cyborg's favor necessarily, and that's not her fault. I mean, she's in sparse divisions.
Yeah, she's beaten like pretty much everyone they put in front of her.
Carano, Holm. Megan. No, she didn't even face Megan. She beat Julia Budd. That's
the thing. Like, when you start getting into your Julia Budds, your Leslie Smiths, like, no disrespect, but is this the strength of?
Hey, don't you diss our Canadian, okay? How dare you?
Well, she had a very lackluster performance in Bellator.
Yeah, she didn't look good last time out. But
I'll say that 115 for me. Doing it at 115 is more impressive than doing it at another weight class, which is why I'm inclined
to agree, but I don't know. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. She may have a second fight with Weili. There's still challengers on the horizon. So, like I said, it's difficult to assess someone's legacy based on their career not being over. I'm not saying Cyborg's career is necessarily over, but it's in the Bellator phase, if you know what I mean.
Wow, disrespect. Okay, well, the third fight was a Shevchenko fight, and it's kind of related to this fight because, in my opinion, Shevchenko barely broke a sweat in this fight, which is surprising because she was up against one of the most dangerous strikers in her division. So the fact
hitters.
Yeah,
sure, hitters, strikers, whatever. Yeah, hitters. Let's say hitters.
I love this fight. I love this fight.
My question to you, we can definitely wax lyrical about the fight, is do you see a world where Rose or Weili fights Shevchenko?
Weili, I do. They're friends, her and Rose. They're training partners. I thought this was what the UFC was setting up. They expected Weili and Valentina to win, and then they were going to usher a super fight in between them. But also, Rose and her are good friends and training partners.
Also, I think if Rose, let's say in a world where they have a falling out and Rose wants to face Valentina, Rose will get hurt.
I don't know. We keep saying this about Rose. But she finds a way. Honestly, after this next, because I really thought Weili like by a country mile on this fight, just because I just saw the power differential, and people kept talking about Rose's like stand-up advantage, and for me, like, Weili has proven that she's a good like striker. And after if you go 5 rounds with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, like you're not a bad striker.
No,
like,
absolutely
you're a good
not.
striker. So like
They
I
looked like an
felt
alien
like
at the end too.
yeah, man, I felt like Whaley had Rose's number on this one, but Rose, man, she's super creative, super crafty, and I just feel like she's gonna throw up some stuff that Valentina just doesn't see usually. She's gonna be faster than Valentina.
Rose's
So it could be
manipulation
interesting.
of range as well, I think, is something that could give Valentina problems, where a lot of people don't seem to know how to properly close the distance on Valentina.
Yeah.
They're either over anxious or over hesitant, and you know, Rose's manipulation of range and timing is very good, where it could potentially give Valentina problems. Now, man, who among you expected, though, the strength advantage Valentina would have over Andrade? And that's where I'm giving pause in a fight against Rose Namajunas, because she was able to lift Rose Namajunas up like she was a 25-pound kettlebell, you know?
And did you see Andrade try to lift Shevchenko and she didn't budge?
She didn't budge up against the fence. Yeah, she went to that crotch lift, and when she, went to hip in, Valentina was not going anywhere.
Dude,
Man,
statement win, because I gotta talk about this. In the embeddeds, all Andrade could talk about was, if I can get into the wrestling exchange, if I could clinch her, if I could tie her up, I could take her to the ground and work my jiu-jitsu, which, by the way, Andrade's jiu-jitsu is super underrated, I have to say.
And Valentina's like, oh, you think you have advantage in wrestling? Okay, I will show you what advantage in wrestling really is all about. Here is body lock takedown and trips and other such takedowns.
Dude, six.
Even Victoria laughed at that one, Stefano. Good job.
6 for 6. 6 for 6. 100%.
Good takedowns, too. Good takedowns.
With
she hit those Polish, they call them the Polish takedowns, where you, it's like that trip over top of your thigh where you step deep past their legs. That was good. A couple of nice body lock trips involved in there. Yeah, she's good at finding the crucifix on the ground too.
Are you kidding me? Like man, she was so good because
past her guard effortlessly. Like, it was, I couldn't believe it. She undressed Andrade before our very eyes. Like, it was insane.
In an age of people sitting in half guard and trying to pound from there, it's refreshing to see someone at a high level, going through the full jiu-jitsu meta, progressing to side control and doing their best work from there, And she's not even particularly active in some of these half positions some of the time, right? Like, she just put on a jiu-jitsu clinic and was able to secure that elbow in the crucifix position and then just went to town with strikes.
Dude, I was just so shocked because, like, again, all Jessica could talk about was, hey, if I get into that crotch lift, I'll get this to go to my favor, and I know how to close the distance. And Valentina puts her on the feet, takes her down.
Do not know how to close this distance.
You gotta do that.
She's so deadly, man. She's just so deadly. She might be like the most complete fighter. No, she is the most complete women's fighter. Like, I don't think like there's a might or anything. She's more well-rounded than Amanda Nunes.
Most complete women's fighter. Well, now we're debating for the award of world's tallest midget. Okay.
No, but you know what I mean, though. Like, in terms of, I just don't like. What do you think is her weakness?
Her weakness would probably be if you force her to lead. I would expect she is not as good on the lead as she is on the counter on the feet. I would expect as much. You can force her into a boring fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do think though you can. There is a way to, if you can get past her blind side. So, like, that means if you can get deep on the outside foot, there is a way that you can kind of manipulate her, because Valentina loves going to her right. She loves going to her right. So, and she only goes back in straight lines when in trouble. So there's a way to do it. I guess what I would say is, if I were to make a series on how to beat Valentina, you have to get deep to the outside foot, and you have to push her back with feints and fakes, which ironically is something Rose can do, actually.
Yeah, and if you can maximize your grappling advantage over her, you can probably get her to the fence because she tends to move back in like little half steps, right?
Yeah, but if you have an advantage, though, because she's so tricky with her trips,
that's the thing.
And her jiu-jitsu is so good as well. So I don't know, like, I just don't see any woman in that, well, definitely in that division, but just other than maybe a Rose or a Whaley coming up, or maybe a Nunes coming down, like I
A
just don't.
Nunes coming down would involve cutting off one of her
Yeah,
legs.
that's sorry. Yeah, I mean,
You mean
Shevchenko going down.
Valentina coming up?
Which, by the
Yeah,
way,
Shevchenko go down. Yeah.
I think Valentina in the third fight beats Nunes. I really do.
We'll see. She might, yeah.
Maybe.
Sorry,
Honestly,
I do want to get Jeremy in this because Jeremy like this is one of Jeremy's favorites. So
Well, I have to say that grappling performance was dirtier than the inside of my toilet. Sorry, go on, Jeremy.
he's just.
Well, I don't have much to say. You guys covered it all. It was a great time. It was a great time to see Valentina showing her what she can do on the ground. So.
and you know what? They're talking about Lauren Murphy coming in next, and at the first time,
Who?
at first I was like, buddy, like, why are we doing these to these poor girls? But honestly, the selfish part of me kind of just wants to see like a conveyor belt of just like women's fighters just stepping up to Shevchenko.
So you like
Shevchenko-
David-
sacrificial lambs. That's
David's
what
one of
you
those Shevchenko sycophants.
I'm really not. That's the funny part. I'm really not. But like, man, she speaks multiple languages.
Oh,
She's
God.
whooping ass.
This is the Valentina copy pasta that you find on Reddit.
I'm joking.
Listen,
She could be a billionaire or anything else she wants to be, but okay.
Come on, she's doing her fight press conferences in 3 languages. Come on.
All
Put
right.
some respect on that lady's name. Come on.
Did you see her press conference where she's like,
David,
I
think she's a spy too. Personally, I personally think she's a spy too. I agree.
I'm joking. She's definitely not a spy because she hates when people say that. So if
I'm
you're
not a
listening,
spy,
Valentina-
and my not liking the fact that you call me a spy means I am not a spy. If I was a spy, I would accept it and say I am a spy. Because all spies
you
have
gotta
to
do this. You gotta do that. You gotta do this impression. Way.
that was a
All
mess.
spies
Try
have to
again.
admit when they are spies.
That was better. That one was better. I'm not gonna lie.
You know what though? Her new nickname should be Black Widow though. I gotta say because I think that would fit her way better because she's
Like
just.
she's not black, and I don't think she was ever married. So what the hell are you talking
It's
about?
not a widow. So
Anyway,
it's a Marvel reference. Oh,
Mike, sometimes jokes just fly right over your head.
oh, I just.
Whoosh, whoosh.
the fight after that. The fight after the Valentina fight, or before, I guess.
I
Man.
think I'm going to be sick just remembering this next
Sad
fight.
day. This was
I
a
just
sad
want to
moment.
say Chris Weidman has come full circle, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that in the sense that I remember when Chris Weidman was a young, promising contender at a time where the middleweight division was just nuked by Anderson Silva, and a lot of people were saying, you know, there's this young, scary prospect coming up, and he might beat Anderson Silva. And me, as a big Anderson Silva fan, was in just absolute denial. And he was just eviscerating the entirety of the middleweight division. Got the job done. One of the ways was in a scary leg break against Anderson Silva. And the exact same thing happened to him in this fight. And it was the first strike thrown. Uriah Hall is the first person to win a UFC fight without throwing a strike, actually. That's real. That's a fact.
But you know what?
Genjutsu
There's a couple.
they keep talking about, right? Sorry.
What's that?
Genjutsu?
Yes, a Genjutsu.
Nice reference. There's a couple
I
things
don't
I
watch
do want.
anime.
Genjutsu. It's a sacred art where you use optical illusions. Okay.
You know, I'm more surprised nowadays when I learn a black person doesn't watch anime than the other. I was like, wait a minute, black people watch anime? Really? And now I'm like, wait a minute, you're black and you don't watch anime?
Yes.
Okay, so a couple notes on this fight. It's very interesting that the fight before ended with a leg kick that actually landed perfectly. You know, and it kind of messed up Jimmy Crute's leg, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. See, this is the thing about calf kicks. They don't hurt, but they just make your leg numb. And they just, you know, in a perfect world, it's a great way to just kind of stymie somebody.
I gotta take one,
but-
man.
Huh? Yeah.
I gotta take a calf kick and see what all the fuss is about. Honestly,
I personally like the
It's
inside.
not fun.
Yeah, I personally like the inside calf kick where you kind of go to the inside and you wrap around the knee and you hit the back. It's murder.
My last fight camp, I took an outside calf kick. I took a calf kick, and right away my shin just went numb, and I'm like, okay, that sucks, and I couldn't plan my weight on it.
Yeah. Like you basically are forced to like go onto your back foot. You're useless with your front foot for about 5 minutes. But so it's crazy to me that he tried that, and this goes into the second thing. I'm not trying to put the blame just on Joe Rogan, but it's this idea that people come out and they say the calf kick is unstoppable. Look at this revolutionary technique.
We had a question about it not too long ago. What's the most overblown technique?
Right? And here's the thing. I've been telling this to lots of people. It's checkable. So when Uriah Hall checked it, and not even like a great check, but just enough.
Just enough, yeah.
Just enough to stop it. You see the effects of what a good check can do still. And
I don't like blaming the victim ever, but I think Joanna made a really good point about this in her post-fight presser. She was talking about how nowadays everybody's in love with the calf kick, but she doesn't like to do it because if it gets checked, like you're more likely to get hurt.
It's worse.
Yeah.
It's not like the thigh where you have to lift the leg and you're dealing with a target that's up in the air. People put their weight on that check now because they're stepping and turning.
There's also something, and shouts out to, I guess, Sasha Hijazi, who is a coach, Ottawa Fight Fitness. On our Muay Thai group, he said that the reason, like one of the reasons is because fighters aren't setting up their leg kicks, which is such a simple thing to say. But man, if you're literally sprinting and soccer kicking somebody, if it gets checked, like that momentum, it's got to go somewhere. Like,
Completely agree. And this landed on, it was the lower part of the shin of Chris Weidman, which landed on the
top part of the knee.
The top part of the knee. And you're completely right. Calf kick or not, you got to set them up. And fighters are used to just you can throw it non-committal from the outside and get away with it, but to load up on it like that, like Uriah Hall's shin was just turned outwards in that position. It
was like a picture perfect check.
Yeah.
Like if you're teaching people how to check, like that's how you would, not even picture perfect, because he doesn't even lift the leg.
Perfect circumstance at the very least. You don't want to lift the leg on
you don't want to lift the leg
not on the calf kick, but the way he puts the weight on it.
He did turn it out enough for it to really be picture perfect. But again, you don't.
Mike over
much.
here, he didn't really turn it out enough.
Yeah, he broke his leg, Mike.
Yeah, I know.
That leg break was more disgusting than Jeremy's toilet. Okay, come on,
Okay.
Let's be real here.
We gotta stop with this, Jeremy. We gotta stop.
Anyways,
It's less and less funny each time.
that I'm making it a thing. That was bad. That was really bad. I mean, he tried to plant his weight on it afterwards, and it just slid up plates.
It's one thing to see the break, like the Anderson Silva break, but I think what makes it worse is seeing, number one, the indent. You can tell it's like a clean break, like just before he even puts it on the floor. But then seeing him trying to put weight on it and it just like buckle, like buddy, that might be the most graphic. And we used to watch Alistair Overeem's like lip get burst open. That might be the most graphic thing like I've ever seen in the UFC.
I did not. I was in shock. Me and my girlfriend were in shock after this.
I remember yelling. Yeah, I remember yelling, and my dad coming upstairs
and just slapping
it. be like, he was like, "Oh my!" Like he was like, "Why are you yelling at 1:00? Can't hear you."
What? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
My God, what is wrong with you? I have to work in.
You?
You're going to wake up the neighbors. Why are you yelling? Oh my God, that's
exactly.
It's out of place. Sorry.
Are you Indian all of a sudden?
Is Ghana in India now?
Why are you yelling?
Is Ghana in India?
First off, why are you yelling? Why are you doing this at 1:00 in the morning? Please. No, but stop with this nonsense.
What is this voodoo?
And then
that man, witch doctor.
Right, but it was so bad, and I like we have to honestly thoughts and prayers, and he's going to have surgery tomorrow. Last time I heard. Hopefully that's
like fighting, man. Like I hope that dude can walk again. Like that's the kind of, just as somebody who recently broke their arm. Like I know A little bit, and it wasn't a clean break. That's why I'm like, this might be one of the most graphic things we watched, because that bone was snapped. So like, yeah, I just hope he can walk again and he can coach and like live a normal life with his family. Like, forget about fighting Chris.
You know
Like,
what's crazy? I liked Weidman's chances in this fight, given the fact
too.
that
Too.
Uriah Hall tends to circle the cage with his hands down. Weidman could probably out wrestle him, and that Weidman is a phenomenal cage cutter who, always seems to be able to crowd his opponents to the cage, whether it's Lyoto Machida, Anderson Silva, whomever. Even did a good job of crowding Reyes before Reyes was able to time that left cross. But it's sad. It's sad. Fighting is a unpredictable and dangerous sport, and as much as we gawk and drink beer and watch it and spectate and get entertainment from it,
there's consequences.
It's not a game. Yeah, it's not a game. This is life and death. Life and death with a referee to intervene to,
If I can play optimist, because it wasn't a compound fracture where his leg came out of the skin, it looks like God willing, inshallah, that there probably isn't going to be any muscle damage, right?
We don't, Mike. You're not a physician.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
We don't.
I know. I'm trying to play optimist.
Get your bro science out of here.
I mean, and also shouts out to Uriah Hall also for man, if you guys are fighters, so if that was you in that position, I mean, how would you respond? Would you be more like Chris Weidman during the first Anderson Silva leg break, or would you be more like Uriah Hall?
I'd probably be more like Chris Weidman, to be honest with you, because as terrible as it is, this is the game we play, you know?
It was hard to watch, though. Uriah Hall, he looked like he was going through some shit. Like,
Uriah Hall, clearly a man who wears his heart on his sleeve, and, classic.
He reminded me of Michael a lot. I feel like that's something Michael would do. Like, win and then be so upset he won that he's, like, crying in the corner.
God bless your heart. No, I'm a savage, so don't say that.
Savage, more like average. Anyways, where do you think Uriah Hall goes forward? Because that's kind of the conversation we haven't had around him.
Honestly, if I'm a UFC fighter, I don't want to fight him because, he's pretty much ended the career of the last two guys he fought. So,
he's on a 4-fight win streak.
I mean, in fairness, if Anderson Silva came back from a leg break, so can Chris Weidman, right? So,
yeah. Chris Weidman's 36, man.
Anderson Silva was 39.
Yeah, but I feel like we all.
Chris Weidman, as we know him, is dead. Yes,
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, medical science is a phenomenal thing these days, but give that man some steroids for the love of God.
They probably will. They'll take him off the USADA pool for a while. And
who do you book in Uriah Hall after this one?
That's an interesting question because he didn't.
Right now, I see. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just go ahead.
I was gonna say he's ranked number 9 in the list that I'm looking at. So above him is Darren Till, Derek Brunson, Jack Manson, Marvin Vittori, Jared Cannonier, Paulo Costa, Whitaker, Adesanya. And just below him is Kevin Holland.
Cannonier Hall, let's do it. That's a banger of a fight.
I would take a Hall Holland, Hall Till, Hall Brunson, Hall Cannonier. Any of those are good.
Why not Hall Gastelum?
Yeah, we could do that. Run that one back.
Do me a favor, man. Sit Kelvin Gastelum on ice for like a year. Like, let him figure out, with no disrespect, like what division he wants to fight in, because I'm just not convinced this middleweight division is where Kelvin Gastelum should be. And I know, he's tried
for 4 years.
I disagree
with you. He's eating welterweight and he's tried this and that and his diet but after watching,
competitive with the top end of the division. What are you guys talking about? He was. It's not like size was some massive factor in his last loss. It's not like strength and size were the reason for him losing that performance. And by the way, he fought it against he lost against someone coming up from welterweight himself in Robert Whitaker. So I'm not confident that going down is the answer.
But but here's the thing, and I hate to do this. Look at Robert Whitaker's physique. Look at Kelvin Gastelum's physique.
I'm just saying, his losses haven't been with
who has he lost to? Who has he lost to?
3 of the last 4.
As a result, hold on. That's not what I said. Who has he lost to as a result of being too small for the weight class? I'll wait.
Let me pull it up and just see his losses. Darren Till, he had a hard time getting inside, so you can make an argument. But then again, Darren Till came from welterweight too. But Darren Till is also 6'1" and looked huge.
Jack Hermanson, that was,
submission, that a tactical error on the part of
Ian Heinich, big, strong middleweight, out-grappled him.
Right.
Beat Jacare Souza, knocked out Michael Bisping. The Adesanya loss you can't really attribute to size.
That 5th round.
Yeah, the size didn't help him in that one. I see your point. Maybe it's not a size thing, but I just think he needs to chill and get a good run of wins is what I'm trying to say. I guess I did imply that he was oversized, but whatever. I
do think there is an undersized issue though.
Let's go for
against Uriah Hall. Man, that just doesn't seem like a good fight for Kelvin Gastelum right now.
Do you know who I think we need to do Uriah Hall against next? And this is an important one for me. Let's do him against Adam Sella again.
Who?
Oh, you're kidding, but
Anyways, let's quickly go over the last fight of the card, and then I
want to see a spin. I want to see a spin kick though.
Yeah, Jimmy Crute.
Jeremy Crute. I love the Kimura.
This was a weird fight, man.
The Kimura technique.
I feel like a lot of people are super disrespectful about Anthony Smith and his skills. But on the feet, close. Anthony Smith might have had the advantage, honestly. And yeah, I thought Jimmy Crute looked not outclassed, but Anthony Smith beat him fair and square, and that leg kick looked crazy. He couldn't walk, and I thought the doctor stoppage was fair, honestly.
I thought it was justified. If you're struggling to walk, and Crute said himself, I was going to pull guard. I mean, yeah. That's about it. And Crute, tough as nails, wants to continue, but Crute doing a good job of taking him down off of those low kicks at times, which was good. But yeah, Anthony Smith just finding the mark with his jab repeatedly, and his low kick seemed to do more damage than Crute's.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to quickly talk about the Rude Boy Randy Brown fight, if that's okay with you guys.
That's
one
okay.
arm rear naked choke. How about that?
Rare that you see it, but he did a very good job of securing that choke. And you use your head in absence of your other arm generally to finish that. It works well when somebody's controlling your free arm. And yeah, you use your head to apply that pressure, and you bury your hand behind their back. And Alex Oliveira couldn't tap fast enough. Road Boy looked huge.
Yeah.
Man, and that's the thing with Randy Brown too. Even on the feet, he looked impressive, right? It just seems with Randy Brown, he just can't get over the top of that upper echelon division. I mean,
Cowboy's a pretty big win, though.
No, it's a big win, but it's not top 15, right? And
can I just wax lyrical about the straight ankle lock that took place? Brendan Allen submitting Carl Robertson. That was a fun little transition. Robertson actually initiated that. I like to set that up personally from a Kimura from half guard, but Robertson did the
where you get the inside foot into the ankle, and then
you get the Kimura and you push off. Yeah, Robertson did it though just by shoving the armpit and pushed him into that Ashigarami position, but it turned out to be more like a 50-50 they found themselves in, and Brendan Allen able to cross his feet and just reach underneath, grab the everyone's calling it a heel hook. It looked like a straight ankle lock to me. It began with a heel hook and then transitioned to a straight ankle lock, and that was always like me a leg lock. Fight of the night definitely was that Molina versus
Iori.
Oh, that was a weird fight, man.
Guys, I gotta run.
Peace out.
Hey, that's fair. We're gonna do story time and questions, but yeah.
Doing questions without me? You have questions?
Yeah. Well, we had one. I've been asked it by DM a lot. Actually.
Okay, you guys. I gotta run. It's been a slice. Thank you. And
all right, cool. One more Valentina impression. before
Yeah,
you go?
Valentina, I win this fight. It is my body that chooses to grapple. I don't try. I don't think I'm going to out-grapple her. But, my body says I take you down from body lock. And, I have creepy relationship with my coach and sister. Anyways. All right.
Whoa, bye.
Oh, you
You
don't know
said your
about that? You don't
Valentina
know about that?
impression, not your Rose impression. Jeez.
No, she has a
Anyway,
creepy
bye.
relationship. Her sister and her have been training with that coach since they were like girls, and her sister's now married to him. And every photo you see of them on Instagram is just the three of them, and it's
All
really
right,
creepy.
okay.
Okay, bye.
All right. Go. Don't sully this podcast.
Man. All right. Boys, question time.
Yeah, question time. Oh, wait, really quickly before that, did you guys see because, Stefano hates when we talk about fun stuff on this podcast, but did you guys see Daniel Cormier threatening Jake Paul yesterday?
Yes, I did.
Like,
And
we see you. We see you. Cut it out, man. You're nasty.
in fairness, Jake Paul started on Twitter, and Daniel Cormier was like, "No, this is real life."
Started what? What
Because
did Jake?
he called him, and I quote, "a fat fuck" on Twitter.
That's funny. We see you guys, man. It's okay. Just say you want the fight. It's all good. Jeez, you guys are nasty.
Man, you know what? Everyone's whoring for the money. Like,
Bro, how many guys have accepted the fight? Like, I actually don't even know who's fighting him next. You got, like, did you see, there's a compilation on YouTube of, like, UFC fighters reacting to the Jake Paul win against Ben Askren, and they're all so salty. Man, I get it. It's messed up, but, like,
yeah,
guys,
it's an embarrassing time for our sport. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we looked bad, but yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But anyway.
In the words of Floyd Mayweather, whether you pay to see me win or you pay to see me lose, you're gonna pay. So
Facts.
he's monetizing it. He's
Facts.
monetizing.
And Floyd Mayweather is really gonna box Logan Paul.
Yeah, it's happening June 5th.
Like, what is going on? And he's really gonna go out there and whip this boy's ass. I can't believe I'm swearing on this podcast, but anyway.
Hey, man. It's all good. I said the F word like 8 times today. Jeremy, I want to get your... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say Creflo Dollars did say the A word. Sorry, go on, Jeremy.
Yeah, he did. Man. Cool. Okay. Gold star for you if you get that reference. Jeremy, Javier Fortuna, Ryan Garcia. What's that situation? Tell the people.
Ryan Garcia pulled out of the fight because of mental health issues. So it's no longer happening.
Man.
Wait,
and
did you say Ryan Garcia pulled out because of mental health issues?
Yeah, you cited mental health. That's the... See,
yeah.
I actually think more fighters should do this. I really do. Look, as much as it's hilarious that Joanna had trouble, she cites her relationship issues as the reason why she had trouble against Rose in both of their fights. I do think there's something to be said for saying, I'm not right, clearly, I'm struggling, and I don't want to fight. You know what I'm saying? And not going in there when you're like 50%.
I'm not a fighter, so I don't know. But some people would say that competition is about competition.
It's going through adversity, sure, but I think more fighters should look. God bless him, he's not here, but Stefano would always say, "Hey, sometimes you gotta think like a general and not like a soldier, right? Your general would not put you out there when you're not mentally in there."
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, shouts out to him. Mental health issues are never a good thing, and there's probably a lot more going on than we are aware of. But no buts. Just shouts out to him, and at least he's being honest about his mental health issues and why he's pulling out the fight. How many times have we seen fighters fake some kind of injury or personal reasons or undisclosed and not really address it when there's an opportunity to talk about the effect that mental health has on a lot of people. So Shouts out to him. The problem I think a lot of people might have is, if I'm not mistaken, Ryan Garcia is one of those like trash talkers, right? Uh,
Yeah.
he represents like the new age kind of fighter who are famous on TikTok and all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of he's not gonna get, in my opinion, the sympathy that maybe a lot of other fighters would get, because he kind of does have that pretty boy image. But alas, hopefully he gets better.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look on Ryan Garcia's part. I should preface it by saying that if he has mental health issues, that he should focus on those issues and focus on being healthy. But at the same time, I think it's a bad look because he does talk trash. And one thing about anxiety is that you don't want to bring more anxiety onto yourself by doing that. But he's in a business where he has to in order to get the notoriety. So it's a catch 22, but I think it's a bad look because of the fact that he's now building a reputation for promoting fights, i.e., Tank, Pacquiao, and then pulling out of them. So
Yeah, that was my issue, is that I thought he was supposed to be fighting Gervonta Davis. So when this
This is the
fight got
thing.
announced, I was like, wait, what?
So this is the thing. They never actually agreed to terms, right? Neither did him and Pacquiao, because Pacquiao, believe it or not, and I have this on good authority, wanted the McGregor fight. Yes, that's what happened. So he didn't want to face Ryan Garcia because he wanted to face McGregor. So it, at the end of the day, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango, right? And so Ryan took Javier Fortuna, and then Ryan, who, by the way, does have a wife and child who he cheated on camera, right? Yes, that did happen. He's
Wait,
probably
Fortuna or Garcia?
Garcia.
Okay.
Sorry. He has a wife and child that he cheated on camera with an 18-year-old who turned 18 2 weeks before they were seen on camera together. Right? He's going through a lot. There's a lot of things, don't let the pretty boy image fool you. He's going through a lot. So yeah, I can see it. I'm okay with it. I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm okay with it.
Yeah, hopefully he gets the help that he needs, and he's able to get back in there and kind of get paid and pay off whatever alimony he's gonna have after this. Because
because
yeah.
it's tight.
Hopefully he's okay, man. We see too many young
look,
fighters so go on.
I was gonna say you have some fighters like Jake Paul who go in there and beat up Ben Askren after having an entire MMA community against them and having allegations against them, and then they go out there and they get the job done. And then you got pretty boys like Ryan Garcia who pull out of fights, frankly, because I think the pressure is too much. I think he sees Devin Haney around the corner, and he's like, "Yo, I don't think I want those problems right now." So
I'm not rolling with that, man.
Me either. And the reason why is because you're facing Ben freaking Askren, and the allegations came a week before the fight, maybe 2 days before the fight. So it's like it's not the same time frame, right?
Yeah, and I don't think Ryan Garcia is scared of Devin Haney. I think that would actually be a pretty close fight.
Yeah.
I think
Although I do
wants
think
that
Devin
fight, if
Haney
anything.
I do think Devin Haney wins, but it would be closer than Devin Haney would like to admit. But yeah, look, hey man, there are people who are not gonna like it, and Jeremy brings up some fair points, right? I'm not disagreeing. I think they're valid. I just happen to disagree with them. Anyway, to our question before we call it a wrap. So this is a gang of questions. But people want to know with the second lockdown. And we got two guys here who are kind of going through it, who are Muay Thai enthusiasts, boxing enthusiasts on your side, Jeremy. What instructionals or what kind of tapes have you guys been watching I know this was a question to a lot of people. What kind of tapes would you recommend to watch to get better at fighting in general? I'll say umbrella term because some people I got jiu-jitsu, some people I got wrestling, some people I got striking, but just in general, fighting. What tapes would you guys watch to get better at fighting?
Yeah, I'm a terrible person for this because I don't watch YouTube tapes. If I was gonna watch one, from Muay Thai, I would just focus on anybody who's like a known Thai fighters, and usually they have like short clips where they go over like different techniques. I usually watch a couple of those on Instagram, and maybe one or two like sparring videos on YouTube between like Bokau versus what's that guy's name, Sanchai or something like that. Just like the most renowned one, but rarely do I, because there's so many different people out there giving weird information. And I don't even know if they fought before, or I don't know their background. I don't know anything. So I love getting kind of instructionals in person and going to people that I know. So usually my gym does like some kind of virtual like training session or something, and I'll partake in that. But other than that, then it's either one like short 15-second, 30-second clips on Instagram, or I go to like one of the more renowned Thai fighters and just watch either some sparring videos or watching them overview like a technique. Like I think I've watched like Sanchai's what's it called? His like switch kick or something like that. Like, yeah, just something like that.
Yeah, I agree with David. I say in-person coach is the best way. Even if you don't want to pay for it, if you know anybody who's competed, ask them to maybe tell you how to start, but to go online and try and find certain videos is hard. I think if you're going to do the online route, then you're going to want to maybe pay for an actual program. If you don't want to pay, then you can still learn. But if you don't want to pay, then I say consume as much as possible. And you're going to be going back and forth. You're going to be taking things out, putting things in. So it'll take a little bit longer, but I say have a wide breadth of the amount of instructionals you watch if you don't want to pay for it. But personally, I recommend that you have in-person coaching, somebody who can look at you, watch you, help you clean everything up. And if you're going to go that route, I say before you do it, don't even throw a punch or a kick. Just, go jogging, do your core workout, and things of that nature.
Yeah, no, I'd happen to agree with like the sentiment of in person is the way to go as opposed to online. Just simply put, like they can clean you up. Like, you can watch it on, like, even if somebody gives you perfect instruction on throwing the perfect cross, for example, right? A person can clean you up when you're throwing it wrong. If, let's say, you're not tucking that shoulder when you throw that cross, for example, or throw that jab, you're not tucking that chin behind the shoulder or things like that. They can clean you up, right? They know those minute details, and a good coach will really, really focus on those things. But I would say, though, if you are looking to watch some stuff, I recommend dynamic striking, flow grappling if you're willing to pay some shekels, right? If you're willing to pay some shekels, they have an extensive library that they are having sales for, so you can just pick up one for sale and really get yourself right when it comes to certain aspects of the game that some coaches might not even know, right? And, you might not do them perfectly, and you might not have someone, like, for example, Stefano raves about James Krause's wall wrestling instructional, right? That, look, Stefano might not be able to do the stuff perfectly because he's not getting James Krause there personally to say, okay, clean up this, and this, but he is learning some stuff, right? But the problem is that costs money, and people want to become badasses without putting in the shekels and the time to do it sometimes.
Quite simply, you're never going to be good at this sport or at any sport without paying money to receive training. That just comes with it. It's like an apprenticeship system still. Like you need somebody who's done it in order to like tell you how to do it kind of thing. But I do know for jiu-jitsu, for example, what's that guy? John Danaher has a bunch, like a ton of videos. There seems to be more like instructional videos for jiu-jitsu than
for flow grappling. Yeah, I really like the one I'm on right now is Escapes with Gary Tonin.
Yeah.
It's been a really, really good one. And I've been working on some of my escapes from submissions that have really served me well. What I really like about his video in particular, not to kind of make this a
free
sponsorship.
promo. That's another thing I was gonna say. So much free promo.
If we're gonna be giving a free promo, there's a YouTube boxing coach. His name is Coach Anthony. He'll take you through stance. He'll take you through the proper combinations, how to shadow box. So as long as we're giving out free promotions, that's a good one I recommend. And then also he has a program that also costs money that you would pay for as well. So if you're learning to box if you're into box the internet, I'd say Coach Anthony out of Newark, New Jersey is a good coach.
Yeah. I mean, if you have to go absolutely free, I think there are a couple good guys like Stephen Casting, or I can't remember his name, but he's on YouTube. He kind of goes to how to do X, Y, and Z. Seems legit. You know, a lot of his moves seem like they are legit. They are kind of abbreviated versions of them. I know Jiu-Jitsu's kind of getting into that how to do X, Y, and Z, or moves that work for me thing. And Jiu-Jitsu's been a well-known guy in the community. And besides that, what's it called? Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's doing kind of like how to do so-and-so things.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A lot of fighters nowadays are having their own kind of instructional. I'm pretty sure Trevor Whitman has one, if I'm not mistaken. With
Footwork of Boxing, that's on Dynamic Striking, but he did like an abbreviated version on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of information. But I do think like there has to be a point where it's one thing to learn something or to watch something. It's another thing to practice it on your own. It's another thing to like apply that. Like in an
100%
real life situation. So that real life, like sparring, you don't want to be sparring without like a gym or like good training partners, in my opinion, because you're not going to do much learning. Not.
No, I'm with you. All right, boys, such as the end of the shows. Who's going to threaten the children?
Guys, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, please, by the end of the year. Please. Just tell your friends and tell people.
Okay, wow, that was not very threatening at all.
Or else I'm going to take a shit in your toilet and make it a biohazard.
With the toilets thing today, the toilet thing. Jeez.
Make it a biohazard area. And peel the paint off of your bathroom wall.
Oh, God. Okay. In this crazy mixed up world where all of a sudden Jeremy's bowels are a bio weapon that is no longer allowed in some of the greatest world wars, just remember you got three things. You got life, you got family, and this podcast. Take it easy, everybody.